Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. Today I'm going to be doing a first look at the new game Interceptor Ace Volume 2, Last Days of the Luftwaffe, 1944 to 45. This one was designed by Fernando Sola Ramos and is published by Compass Games. It is the sequel to, as you might have guessed, Interceptor Ace, which is also published by Compass, and that was designed by Gregory Smith. So let's take a look here. Nice thick box, right? Flip her over, look at the back. So we have here Interceptor Ace Volume 2, Last Days of the Luftwaffe, 1944-45, is a solitaire tactical level game which places you in command of a German fighter during World War II. Each turn consists of several days during which a combat mission will be flown from one of many bases in Europe, attempting to intercept incoming American bombers. Interceptor Ace Volume 2 is based on its predecessor Interceptor Ace Daylight Air Defense over Germany 1943-44 by Gregory M. Smith, with a strong narrative around the pilot as you look to increase your prestige, earn skills, and rise in rank through promotion and receive awards. As you can see, it's got 40 different interceptors for you to fly, which is a lot. Fly with famous aces in their aircraft. That is Adolf Galland, if you do not know. Counters shown actual size. So those are the sizes of the counters. Not giant, but not bad. 9/16 inch. Complexity is listed as medium. The time scale is 3 to 4 days per turn. Map scale is abstract. Okay. Unit scale, individual aircraft, weapon systems, crew members, etc. Number of players, 1 or more, best with 1. This is a solitaire game. As you would expect, therefore, the suitability for solitaire is listed as very high because it is designed especially for solitaire play. Average time to play for one mission, 15 to 20 minutes. One campaign, 2 to 4 hours. That is not too bad at all. So it says the objective of the game is to conduct numerous sorties in the role of a German interceptor pilot and rack up kills. Pilots may use the experience gained to improve their odds of success by purchasing skills. As their prestige increases, they may request a transfer to other fighter bases in an attempt to get closer to the action, request a newer type of fighter, or even become a jet pilot. Awards and ace status help to narrate the player's eventual goal to become one of the top guns of the Luftwaffe. So yeah, this is the end of the war. So you do have the, the Wunderwaffen, etc. The things like the Me-262 would be one of those, and I'm sure other various jet aircraft and rocket aircraft, and all the crazy kooky things the Germans were coming up with at the end of the war. So components: 2 counter sheets of 9/16 inch unit counters, 342 of those total. 20 double-sided aircraft display mats, 40 different aircraft. That's really impressive. 7 double-sided player aid cards, 1 pilot awards display map, 1 operations display map, 60 combat cards, 1 rules booklet with historical background, 1 8.5 by 11 inch log sheet, 1 10-sided, 1 20-sided, and 2 6-sided dice. As I mentioned earlier, game was designed by Fernando Sola Ramos, series designer Gregory M. Smith, project director John Krantz, and the game artist was the aforementioned Fernando Sola Ramos. So now let's crack her open and take a look at what's inside. All right. Nice thick cardboard box. All right, so we have cards. Here are our dice. As you can see, 2 10-sided, 2 6-siders, and a 20-sider. The ever-popular bag of baggies. So we do have a little, what is this? A note. The friendly aircraft counter BF-110 G2/R3 is used for both the G2/R3 and G2/R3 with WFR.GR.21 aircraft displays. Okay. Interceptor Ace sortie log sheet. So if you've played the other games, this is pretty familiar. It's in the same kind of format. You have check boxes for your various awards. Obviously, you write your type and your aircraft and your pilot up top. Your rank, your skills, your optional skills, expert stuff, right? Pretty standard stuff. It's 2-sided, and there's a decent number here. And of course, there's always the the popular photocopy. So we do have some boards here. So here is our operations map. This is pretty nice. Let me move some of this other stuff out of the way. So here's our operations map. Like so. It's a little bowed in the middle, but I can always, do something about that. My table's a little shaky, so every time I do something on the table, it actually shakes my mount. So you get a little bounce there, and I apologize for that. But as it says, the map scale is, it's variable, right? So we have our combat cards here, discard pile, a legend, some repair information, bomb bay, and fuel tanks. You roll a dice to find out if you have bad stuff happen. Standard maneuvers to improve position, etc., etc. Various zones, right? So you're stationed in kind of like a zone, you're covering certain zones. Obviously, just like in the original game, basically you're fighting against the bombers coming in. This is daytime, so this would be the U.S. 8th Air Force. This would be B-17s primarily, although there would be some other things such as B-24s as well. So that is the map. Now we have our rules. And this, standard rule book, right? 47 pages. There is an index. Secret Weapons of the Luftwaffe. I remember that game. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Table of contents. There are a lot of things in here. You do have a description of all the various aircraft, which is kind of cool, including, the Me-262 Schwalbe, the HE-162A Volksjäger, etc., etc. Some pretty cool stuff. As is pretty typical, you get a lot of illustrations and so on and so forth. There's the display maps. We'll see those shortly. The target charts for the bombers. Here's your pilot and crew status chart. So there are a lot of charts. If you've played any of Gregory Smith's games, you're familiar with the general layout, whether it's the Hunters series, or the American Tank Ace, or obviously this game, or Nightfighter Ace, etc., etc. They all kind of follow similar layouts as far as the sheets and various things that that you can put on the sheets to track statuses and so on and so forth. Starting units and bases. See, now this is cool to me. This is historical color with the actual squadrons and what they flew and where they were based and everything. Very, very, very neat. I like that. Available aircraft family and type chart, the subtype chart. It's all, so there's a lot of charts in here. All these narrative games kind of follow the same thing. There is a lot of dice rolling. A lot of people don't like them because it feels deterministic. It's not, there's not as much player agency in making decisions that feel like they have impact. In general, Gregory Smith's games do have some level of player agency in there that you do feel like you have some input on things. But the nature of the beast, so to speak, is that this is very much a narrative experience. I liken it almost to like a role-playing game where some of the decision-making is removed, obviously, but you're rolling dice and things are happening and you don't always have control over the overall situation. You're reacting to events and so on and so forth. So somewhat similar to that at a higher level. I'm not talking, you're not going to have a Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Traveler kind of experience in this game, but you can put yourself in the boots, in the flight suit of these pilots from the Luftwaffe in a very difficult time during the war for them. The Allies by this point in the war were very much in control. The P-51 Mustang had arrived on the scene and could, basically escort the bombers deep into Germany. So they weren't dealing with, unescorted aircraft anymore. And so things were very tough here. So you even have a list here of the P-51 Mustang aces. So this is cool. Chuck Yeager. There's Chuck Yeager. Transferred from the Eastern Front. Interceptor Ace 1944-45 can be a very difficult game at times. For those of you who want to start your career with an experienced pilot, consider you have been recently transferred from the Eastern Front to the Western Front in defend of the Reich. I think that should be defense of the Reich duties, which was a thing. I mean, that was very much a thing. It was considered defense of the Reich because you were trying to shoot down these bombers that were streaming over Germany day and night. You know, Americans in the daytime, the British at night, pounding German targets pretty much around the clock. So here we have all the aircraft, lots of pictures. This is just for the historical flavor in this rule book. I would want this game, to be honest with you, because I love this stuff. As you might know, I was in the Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, so I am very much an air combat geek, and this stuff really is really interesting. So there's our rule book. Then we have a bag with the suffocation danger warning on it. Now look at all of these. This is crazy right here. I think these are all of these are aircraft. Look at how many of them there are, right? These are all different kinds of, well, this one's not. How'd that get stuck in there? But these are all aircraft, right? So you have the Bf 109, you know, which started the war as the Messerschmitt 109, right? There's all kinds of these. Just tons and tons. How many variants of this do we have? A lot. Even the K. I didn't really hear much about the K. Entered service in October of 44. Then you have the G. The G was the famous one, right? Then we have the ME 163. This was the rocket. And look at this guy. Look at this guy, right? The Heinkel 162. Here's the famous ME 262, the first operational jet fighter. The famous Focke-Wulf 190. Many variants of this as well. This was a very highly thought of aircraft amongst the Allied pilots. Then we have the venerable Bf 110. Some more Focke-Wulf Schwalbe variants here. The ME 410. This was a development of the failed ME 210. I wish this text was in maybe like a lighter color. It'd be easier to read. More Focke-Wulfs. This guy. So this is a variant of the FW 190. Does it even say that in here? Yeah, ultimate high altitude interceptor of the 190 breed. So this was named after the designer Kurt Tank, and that's why it's called a TA. But this is basically an evolution of the 190. And I think we're back to the beginning. And then, of course, on the other side, there's all kinds of more. There's all, you know, a bunch of aircraft in this game, of course. Here is our pilot and crew status. We have a little Adolf Galland there. That's Werner Mulders right there. Nice prestige status. You have your uniform here. And then down here you have areas for your points, your crewmen skills, etc. Right? Fuel endurance track chart, A1 raid chart on the back. So this will tell you where the raids are going based on the month. If you can make it, I mean, if you start in March of 44 and make it to, you know, the end of the war, that's probably quite the accomplishment. Because like I said, things were not easy for the Luftwaffe in the last couple of years of the war. Fighter target chart. So you can see we got the P-38, the P-47, the P-51, and the Spitfire. Then you have an Allied aircraft target and fighter attack chart, again with months, divided up by month. Skill effects listing, fighter damage chart, landing chart, parachute chart, weather chart. Lots of charts. You get one of these games, you're going to get lots of charts. B1 interception, B2 attack deck results, bomber and group damage, and here's the sequence of play. So, I mean, if you've played the other game, obviously the predecessor to this, or even Nightfighter, this is going to be really similar. Fighter target chart, but probably a lot more tough. Not that those two were easy, because they're not, but this one is going to be extra tough just because of the status of the Air Forces during this particular time period. More target charts, the bomber target chart on the back of here. So, as I mentioned, you'll be primarily facing the Flying Fortress and or the B-24. So those will be your primary targets, and obviously the escorts will be trying to take you down and keep you off the bombers, and attacking one of those bombers, especially the 17 with all those turrets, not a walk in the park either. Random events, right? Serious wound resolution, wingman attack on bomber, extended berths, aircraft damage listings. So you've got controls, you've got engines, weapons, airframe, wings and tail, fuel tanks, landing gear, even oxygen, all kinds of stuff. Bomber crew injury, bomb bay crew injury, nice, all this stuff. Positioning chart. So this is cool. So here we have a B-17, and then you have all these positions for the basically the attack on the bomber. And then you have here's a B-17F, this is a B-17G. So they're pretty similar. And then of course we have our B-24 and a B-17 that's out of formation. So this is kind of when they've been damaged and fall out of formation. Because the 8th Air Force used something called the combat box that made it extremely difficult because they had interlocking fields of fire between all the B-17s. This is an aircraft one, obviously, that I did not pull out correctly. It was kind of stacked in out of order, maybe. And then we have our counter sheet. So there are two. This one's kind of a half sheet, as you can see. Some status markers and damage markers, ammo, and rank badges, apparently. And then we have even more. So we have our squadrons here, which is kind of cool. Air bases, your zones, aircraft markers for your 109s, your Focke-Wulfs, the 190s, the 110s, and then your kind of oddball ones here, the 163, the 229, the tank. And, so you have a wingman marker too. So you can fly with one of these guys as your wingman and as your own aircraft. So here's the 262 and a 262 wingman. And then we have allied aircraft, of course. A couple different varieties of the Mustang, the Thunderbolt, the Lightning, the Spitfires. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Some awards here. Damage, things that need to be fixed up. Ace and green statuses. They're all two-sided as well. So, yeah. So I will do a playthrough of this game at some point. I'm not going to bust into the cards, I don't think. We're almost 20 minutes in as it is, and I don't know that, you guys really need necessarily or want to see that, so I probably won't do that. I'm not going to put all that stuff back in the bag, but I will put the bag in the box. Rule book, board, those were not flipped. That is the order they were in. Put this in here like so. Cards, boom, boom. Reboxing in 10 seconds. There we go. Of course, it won't be that easy to rebox it once all those counters are punched. But there you have it. This is Interceptor Ace Volume 2, Last Days of the Luftwaffe, 1944 to 45, from Compass Games, designed by Fernando Sola Ramos. Expect this guy to get a playthrough video here on the Hexed Encountered channel at some point in the hopefully not too distant future. I have a backlog like I would not believe, but I do want to get this out and get it played. So look for that in the coming weeks, most likely. Not this weekend or next week, but sometime in the not too distant future. So hope you enjoyed it. I know most people are like, unboxing, blah, whatever, but I think it's valuable sometimes just to kind of see the parts, see what you're getting inside the game, get a little context. I always try to provide a little bit of context when I do one of these, just to make it more than just some boring old, here's the map and here's the counters kind of thing. So hopefully that came through and you enjoyed this, and please consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing if you're not a subscriber. And if you are, thank you very much for subscribing. I appreciate the support. That is going to do it. My name is Joe. This is the Hexed Encountered channel, and until next time, happy gaming.